Welcome back. Please don't forget to like and subscribe because we're going to jump right into it. The NBA world, as you all know, was rocked yesterday on Thursday morning. We all probably woke up to notifications, messages, or whatnot, reading that Chauncey, Billups, Terry Rozier, and others had been arrested and indicted on federal gambling charges. After some of that was broken down, and we're going to break it down in the video today, everything that we know about the investigation, about the scandal, what led to the arrest, and the players and coaches who are involved, and what it means for the NBA and potentially other sports leagues. But what we know so far about who's involved is about 33 or 34 people have been arrested, led by or headlined by Terry Rozier, Chauncey Billups, and Damon Jones. Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones are both former players who are or were coaches up until yesterday. Damon Jones was an assistant coach with the Cleveland Cavaliers for a point in time, and we'll talk about why that's important. Chauncey Billups was the current head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. He has been put on leave along with Terry Rozier, who was a player for the Miami Heat. Terry Rozier was arrested at his hotel in Orlando Thursday morning. Miami Heat were in town playing the Orlando Magic for their opening game of the season. He did not play in that game. Chauncey Billups was arrested in Oregon, I'm assuming at home. Portland had a home game on Wednesday, so that's where he was. And Damon Jones, I'm not sure if he's a current coach or not, but we'll talk about him more along with the rest later. Like I said, there were 33 to 34 people arrested, and that's as far much as I know about that. The gambling scheme, it seems to be two different schemes. I don't think they're all combined. I heard that they kind of overlap or whatnot. So everything happened at one time. So I'm not sure if they're connected or if some of the people involved have overlap to both cases or whatnot. We'll learn that information as it unfolds. And while I'm saying that, everybody who's been arrested is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So we're going to give everybody their just due on this matter. But with that being said, like I said, Terry Rozier is accused of providing confidential and non-public information about players and himself to others outside the NBA circle, probably family, friends, stuff like that. And basically what they're saying that he did is he knew that he wasn't going to play a whole game. He told his people whoever was a part of the scheme, hey, I'm not going to play tonight, or I'm going to fake an injury. You should take me for the unders. They put several $1,000s on the game, on player props, which is specific to players. For those who don't know, you have each player has points, assists, rebounds, and different stats. And as far as basketball goes, and the same thing for NFL and baseball. But they all have these player props where you can bet on different individual stats, and that's basically what that is. And he told his people to basically take him for the under and everything. They put several $1,000s on it, and they won, I think, $200 or so $1,000. And this happened back in 2023 when he was with the Charlotte Hornets at the time. So this doesn't really have anything to do with the Miami Heat other than that he's a current player for the team. Chauncey Billups doesn't even have anything, as we currently know, as of this morning. It doesn't have anything to do with the gambling investigation. That his is more tied to mafia families and illegal poker ring. So basically they're saying that he conspired to invite people with, influential people with money to these games that were rigged with x-ray tables and other electronic reading devices like contact lenses to read marked cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And basically he was there to exploit people, and he got paid for it, is what they're saying. Damon Jones, the only thing I saw about Damon Jones so far has been that he provided information on, it sounded like more specifically LeBron James when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers several years ago, because we all know he hasn't played in Cleveland now maybe about 7 years. Yeah, like 6 or 7 years. I think it's been like 7 years since he's been in Cleveland. But basically he provided information to people at that time. I'm not sure if this followed him to the Lakers or whatnot, or what his ties to LeBron are and what information he knows. But basically he provided, and I'm sure it's not just with LeBron, but LeBron was just a name that was brought up. So, but whatever players he knows or has connections with, he basically provided information as far as like injury report, or if somebody was not going to be playing, or minutes or something like that. Basically the same situation like Terry Rozier, providing information to others, just letting them know like, hey, take this for the under or take us for the loss or whatever the case may be, and then helping people win money. How does this kind of affect the NBA? It affects the NBA because it affects the fans. It makes fans question whether or not everything that we see is real. How legitimate is everything? Everybody's gambling these days and on FanDuel, DraftKings, and all these other apps, and we're all putting in parlays and trying to win money, just trying to have fun and win money. So when things like this happen, it makes us question everything like, hey, are these games actually rigged? Because we know there's a circle of people that have a conspiracy that think that NFL, NBA games are rigged and that we know who the champions and outcomes of games are going to be. And when things like this happen, it gives credence to that argument because now it's, well, maybe the games are rigged because we have active players and coaches who are telling their family and friends to, hey, go bet on this, go bet on that. So it does make people question the legitimacy of, are these games really rigged or are they really real? There's a lot of AI, a lot of reality TV out there. So why isn't this one of them? You could really ask that question. And that goes into the trust factor. Do we trust the league now? Because here we are, we at another scandal, another year, because, we had the Jonte Porter thing. That's Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, who was banned from the NBA, I think, last season for giving out personal information on himself to friends or family or whatever the case may be. And, same situation. He take me for the under. I'm going to take myself out of the game. I'm only going to play a few minutes and you'll win a bunch of money. And while that's fine, it's not fine. But while that's cool for, I guess, for the people involved who are making money, people like us who are going to take some of these prop bets, I wouldn't personally bet on some of these players, but the ones that I would bet on, if they were the ones behind these schemes, then now I'm losing money and you're losing money and the casinos are losing money and they're not going to lose money. So that's really my thought and opinion on that. I don't know how the league can be more responsible in policing these types of things. For those who don't know, the little bit I do know, the players I'm sure they have personal cell phones, but they also have league phones. This is in every league. The league can give the teams or league, I'm not sure how the distribution process, but they have phones from the league that, whatever. I'm sure they do some of this stuff on their personal devices, or maybe they do this on both devices. I'm not sure how they track it, but these leagues have former FBI judges, not judges, but former FBI people, all type of agency people that work for them, retired, whatnot, retired attorneys, prosecutors. So they have deep pockets and they have the investigators to find out this information if, they're tipped off, because the casinos are the ones who would tip off in the Jonte, whatever his name, the Porter guy case and the Terry Rozier case, and maybe even the Damon Jones case, when I have information on specific players or whatever, and there's this large sum of money going on players that may not play that much, that may come off the bench. If people put a few $100,000 on LeBron, people may not question that much. But if somebody puts, say, $10,000 Terry Rozier to score under 6 points, that's a little fishy because he gets paid $26 million. So we all know that he, probably a pretty decent player at best, but he was actually pretty good. And that was just an example. I'm not sure if that's what it was. But if somebody did that, it would obviously flag the casino. And then, the league would be like, the casino would tell the league, hey, check this out, look into this. And that's how all that stuff kind of happens. I do not believe these people's actions are the actions of everybody in the league. So, I don't think this is one of those situations where people should look at it like, if one person doing it, they're all doing it. I do not believe that's the case. Like I said, these guys, and we all know these guys get paid millions of dollars to play a game. And most people probably wouldn't jeopardize that. And I know you're probably like, hey, but why would somebody that makes $26 million this year jeopardize that? Even though he did it a few years ago, but he was under the same contract then. I don't know the answer to that question, and I apologize if I don't. If I was making $26 million, I'm not even sure if I would gamble. So take that for what take that for what it is. As far as the Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups goes, with the mob stuff, and I'm not sure if they call it mob stuff. I apologize. We'll just call it the mafia families in New York that are being referenced in this case. More specifically, a couple of them were the Gambino family, who I just learned were still active yesterday. I don't pay attention to this type of stuff, so I apologize for not knowing that. I thought that this was something that happened in the 70s. So excuse my just ignorance, I guess. And the Genovese family, and I didn't know anything about them as well. But all I know is that Chauncey Billups is in some way tied up, potentially or allegedly tied into it, and they're running this illegal poker ring. And I think it was maybe the same thing that Gilbert Arenas got accused of. And I've seen people making jokes on him about being an informant and stuff like that. And he seemed to take that very, very personal yesterday. And because if he didn't, then you're dragging his name into something that it may not be involved with. So I think that people should let the story play out and, then pass judgment or whatever you decide to do then. But, could this lead to more federal oversight over sports? I doubt it. And the reason I say I doubt it is because of the owners. These guys are all billionaires, and I doubt they're going to let the federal government meddle in their affairs too much. It doesn't seem to be a sports gambling investigation. His is a illegal poker ring investigation, and that's a little different. I'm not sure if there are any former players or active players or coaches or whatnot tied to that, but obviously we'll get more information on that as it comes out. And as far as the Terry Rozier part of it and the Damon Jones part, from what I know, that's all sports betting on the player props, taking the unders for them not to play. Not Damon Jones wasn't playing. He was a coach at the time, giving out information. Like I said, more specifically on LeBron James injury report. That's what I read. But the scandal is still unfolding. And like I said, I don't have all the information, and the only people that do are closely tied to it. I will update this as we get more information on what comes out and maybe some of the ramifications of that come out of it. Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier have been put on leave by the NBA. They are no longer with their teams currently. We'll see what happens. Tiago Splitter is the interim head coach for the Portland Trailblazers right now. He played for the San Antonio Spurs. I think he won a couple of rings with them, so that's who their coach is going to be right now. And Terry Rozier didn't play in the game for the Miami Heat, and I really didn't see him getting a lot of playing time this season anyways. So I don't think it's going to impact the Miami Heat very much in any way. So that's that. And, as fans, as a league, and we'll move forward, hopefully nothing else comes out by anybody else. And, hopefully these guys just play it straight, do what you're supposed to do, and then we'll all enjoy what we're supposed to enjoy. And that's really that. And I'm never going to take this into the political portion. I saw a thing, and I will touch on this because it's somewhat sports related, because we saw the FBI director kind of call out Stephen A. Smith on the whole, basically saying that it's the dumbest thing he ever heard about the whole comments he made on First Take yesterday about the Trump is coming thing for the sports leagues, the WNBA, the NBA, etc. Stand by for that. I'm sure that'll be interesting, because I'm sure Stephen A. is going to respond to the whole comments about that being the dumbest thing that somebody had heard. That seems like the type of thing that he would respond to, and we'll see what goes from there. But with all that being said, that's all I have for this illegal gambling ring and the sports gambling investigation. Keep coming back for more content. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you and bye.